It's currently raining outside. My dog is snoring in the background and I made a cup of herbal tea. This is red velvet, like rooibos tea. I want to talk about my winter read, all the books I read during the season of winter. I think the tea is ready. So starting off with classics, Little Women and Good Wives. Good Wives is the continuation of Little Women. If you've seen the movie adaptation, these books are just the same movie. Good Wives is them when they're older and Little Women is them when they were younger. Nowadays I feel like all the editions that are being published, they just combine the two editions, like they just make one book of the two of them. For some reason I didn't expect to like these books as much as I did. I had a lot of fun reading them. I think this one just captures the winter essence so well. I obviously don't live in a wintry Massachusetts. I don't live in a place where it always snows, and I don't live in the 19th century, but Louisa and Alcott did live during that time period in that area. If you like classics, I would 100% recommend reading Little Women and Good Wives because it was just such a wholesome read. It's true that Good Wives, like, it was a good book obviously, and I already knew what was going to happen because I've seen the movies. I don't really like Good Wives, like the story, so many things that I think the movie did so much better. But Little Women itself, like as a standalone without Good Wives, I think Little Women is such a wholesome read. But overall, I obviously recommend reading the two books. Then I have a very special read, and it's El infinito, junco by Irene Vallejo, La invención de los libros en el mundo antiguo. This is a collection of essays written by Irene Vallejo. This book is very special to me because it was a recommendation from my mom. My mom has an amazing reading taste, and whenever she recommends books, I always try to pick them up as soon as possible. This book is a book about the history of books. It focuses on ancient civilizations in the Mediterranean area. There's a lot of chapters about Alexandria, the Library of Alexandria, Cleopatra, Pompeii. If you like literature and if you like reading about ancient culture, ancient civilizations, and just the way human beings have progressed throughout history, I think you will really enjoy this book. It's such a good collection of essays. Then for modern classics, I have Letters to a Young Poet by Maria Rilke. I'm sad to say that I didn't connect with this book as much as I feel like everyone else has. Whenever people talk about this book, they always say how beautiful it is and how much it has changed the point of view or how they view the world. I think it was way too short for me to actually connect with it, and also we wish we also had gotten the other letters, like the other point of view, so we knew how they were, like, you know, sending the letters. It's a very good book that it's 84 Charing Cross Road. That's a good epistolary novel. In that book, they write letters to one another, and throughout the entirety of the book, I think like 10 years pass or maybe more, like a lot of years go by. You get to meet some people that then they disappear and no one knows anything about them because, you know, life goes on. Some people go into your life and then some people just, you know, suddenly stop being in your life for whatever reason. And with that book, I did get a connection. But with this book, it just kind of like, you know, I read it and that was it. I don't really think about it. Don't think the lessons that he wrote are anything too special. I feel bad saying this because I know a lot of people really connected with this book. I do want to read it again because maybe, like, reading it a second time, maybe annotating it, I will have a different opinion. But as of right now, I don't truly adore this book. I just think it's a good book. I did like it. I didn't hate it at all, but I just think I was expecting much more from this book. And for short stories, I don't really tend to read short stories, but I read The Tiger Came to the Mountains by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I recently found on Prime Reading a series that's called, I think, Trespass series, and it's 6 different books of short stories, and every book is written by a different author. I'm going to slowly make my way through those books, and the first one I read is this one by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I loved the author's note that she wrote at the end because she talked about how the the short story was inspired by her great-grandmother because her great-grandmother never studied, like she never learned how to read or write, and that was the reason why she became a writer. And I just found that so sweet, the fact that a family member inspired you to do that, because a lot of my family members, like my ancestors, that they never met me and I never met them. I've heard stories about them that really inspired me as well to, you know, pursue some different things in my life. So yeah, the author's note was really sweet. And then regarding the short story, this book was set during the Mexican Civil War. For this story to be such a short story, she packed so much into the story. She had the horror element that she's so good at writing. The short story is not a horror short story, but there were some parts, like they were in a cave and they were hearing noises and they were like seeing shadows. You know, she's really good at writing horror, so those things were kind of spooky. I feel like that's the Silvia Moreno-Garcia essence. And the family dynamics were very interesting to read. The ending of the short story broke my heart. I really want to reread it, actually. I want to reread the short story because I really connected with it, and I gave it 5 stars. I think it's such a good short story. Then for science, I have A Taste for Poison, 11 Deadly Molecules and the Killers Who Used Them. I love reading about science, especially science books written by scientists. With this one, it was very interesting to see how people used poison in their daily lives and how many things that we now think are good to take, maybe in a few years people will think, how are they taking this? Like, that was so weird. Poison is something that I've always been very intrigued about, not in a like morbid sense. The topics are gruesome and kind of terrifying in some ways because these are killers that use poison to kill people. Then for poetry, I have On Sun Swallowing by Dakota Warren. This book is a collection of poetry and prose. I used to read a lot of poetry, like modern poetry, back in 2016, around that time, 2017. I read Milk and Honey, the Michael Faudet books, and you know, the whole Instagram poetry. I did like them back then. Like, I had a good time reading them, especially Milk and Honey. When it came out, I really connected with that poetry collection. Nowadays, I don't really read poetry unless it's classic poetry. With this one, I enjoyed reading about her take on religion. She also grew up Catholic, as I also grew up Catholic, but it's always interesting to read about someone else's religious and spiritual point of view. It's her work of art. I don't really want to judge it because I feel like this is very personal to her, and props to her for publishing this. Then for historical fiction, I read Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I like reading Taylor Jenkins Reid whenever I have a lot going on in my life because her books are easy to just pick up, read, put down, and then just pick up and read and put down. She always has the element of a family member dies, the main character is going through something. Thankfully, in this book, she didn't write about a female main character with big boobs, because in every single one of her books, the main character is a Latina character with big breasts and small butt. In every single one of her books. While in Daisy Jones, I don't think she's Latina. She loves writing characters like that. I don't know why. She always describes the character the same. Then for graphic novel, I read Demo in the Wood, a Sharon Bone graphic novel by Leigh Bardugo. I read the novella when I finished reading the Sharon Bone trilogy, and I liked it because I really liked the Darkling, so reading about the Darkling backstory was really interesting. I don't really tend to read a lot of graphic novels, but the imagery, the color palette, and just the way it was portrayed in the images, I think it was great. And the story itself, I already knew I was going to like it. Then for mystery and thrillers, sadly I didn't have much good luck. So I read The Maid by Nita Prose because of the Goodreads Choice Awards. I did the Goodreads Choice Awards in 2021. I read all the winners. I wanted to do the same for 2022, but after reading The Maid, I decided to stop doing it. There's just nothing that I liked about the book. I know that sounds very harsh, and I'm not one to usually say those kind of things because I don't like being harsh with things. But I don't know, the mystery element, there was no mystery because I feel like we already knew what the plot was going to be, who the killer was going to be. So whenever everything was resolved, I felt like, but we already knew that. Like I thought you were going to like do a huge plot twist. And the next one is When No One Is Watching. I read this book because my friend Rita talked very highly about this book, and I like reading my friend's recommendations. I did not like it. I'm so sorry, Rita. You have amazing reading taste, and I love reading your favorite books, but with this one I sadly just didn't connect with it, which is fine. I just don't really like the relationship between the characters because I thought it was very unnecessary. I think the novel, like the relationship, would have worked much better if they just were friends. And also like the plot twist and everything, it wasn't very thrilling in my opinion. So yeah, another one that I sadly did not really enjoy. And then for romance, I read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I read it for the Goodreads Choice Awards. I wouldn't have picked it up if it wasn't for that reading challenge. I read The Office BFFs for the Goodreads Choice Awards challenge. I didn't grow up watching The Office. Like I think I've only seen one episode and then some memes around the internet. I liked reading the book. I think the two women that wrote it were very, very sweet, but I think people that love The Office would have connected much more with the book. Then I also read Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This was a book that everyone says that if you're in your 20s you should read it because it's like something life-changing. When I was reading this book, I kept thinking it must be exhausting to be her friend, and I know that sounds very mean, but I just don't have a friend just like Dolly, and it was kind of exhausting to be their friends. With this book, what I got out of this book is that she was very fearless. Like she didn't give a fuck in a lot of ways, and I really admire that. She lived her 20s just fearless, enjoying everything, just taking day by day, and she obviously had some dramatic moments like everyone else, but it was very entertaining to read her memoir. And I don't think a lot of people can write a memoir in their early 30s. I believe she's in her early 30s, so I do not think this book is life-changing and every single person in their 20s should read it, but I did like it. Like I think Dolly did a great job with this memoir. And then I read Spare by Prince Harry. Okay, this is the last book I'm going to be talking about, so if you're in for some ranting and some chatting, stay. If not, it's fine. I hope you guys liked this video. But I read this book. I was very interested to read this book, okay, not gonna lie. I wanted to know what he wanted to say. I haven't really been keeping up with like all the drama. I know there has been some drama, and I know they have made a Netflix documentary and all of that. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to see it, but I just find it so absurd that I know everyone always has the same thing to say, that they are always asking for privacy, but then when they give them privacy, they just release a book, release a Netflix documentary. From what I've read in this book, Prince Harry didn't really care about making himself look terrible, and maybe he didn't really realize that he was making himself look terrible. My take on all of this is that even if people hate them, even if people just keep leaving bad reviews on Goodreads and just keep shitting on them, they will still be making good money somehow, some way. They live in a mansion in Santa Barbara or Malibu or somewhere in California. Like, they're doing great, and I feel like it really sucks what happened in the royal family, because they are family, not because they are royal, but because they are family. Broken families are something very sad. I come from a broken family and I don't wish that to anyone, but at the same time I don't really feel bad for them in that way, because like they made a shit show out of this. I hated how he kept bringing up Princess Diana. People idolize Princess Diana for some way. I don't really know why. I'm not saying she was a bad person at all, but I feel like they play her as a martyr and as someone that could do no wrong, and that's not true. It was just another person that for some reason the internet loves her. But I just think that society should really stop idealizing people, because that's not good for anyone. Do I think this expose memoir was something so tragic and something so revealing that it would take down the British monarchy? No, like he didn't write anything too out there, and he didn't write anything that we already didn't know. He wrote about him and William having a fist fight or something. we all have siblings. I'm Spanish. In Spain we have a monarchy, and I'm against so many of the Spanish royal family members. I'm not gonna lie, I hate some of the family members. I do understand why so many people hate Prince Harry. I hate a lot of the Spanish royal family members because, like, just thinking that with my money they're taking drugs and doing so many shitty things and going to Africa and killing animals and just, you know, I could just go on. I just could go on and go on about some of the royal family members of Spain, like the Spanish monarchy. I won't, because I'm getting angry just thinking about it. But I do understand why people hate Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. But at the end of the day, I wish people didn't really give that much attention to them. Leave them alone. Let them be aristocrats, celebrities, whatever they want to do, make their own money and just be civil with the world. The internet can be such a harmful place sometimes, and I wish that it wasn't like that. So those were all the books that I read during the season of winter. I read some very good ones and then some very questionable ones, but overall all of them were interesting in some way or another. I tend to DNF books that I really do not like unless they have a motive for going on, like for example with the mystery and thriller books I read. And I love this tea so much. So I hope you guys liked this video, and I will see you very soon. Bye!